welcome to Coffee and Cannabis. I'm your host, Dr. Beast, big leader of the East, and I have my co-host with me, Gretchen Gailey, hailing all the way from DC. Please give it up.
Hello.
So we are at Lumin Community Cafe, and we have our political series that we're doing. And I shared that, typically we would go and get our coffee from another place, and we would have whatever cannabis we're smoking. But we are going on a worldly tour and checking out all of the different coffee shops and, community areas in different neighborhoods in Jersey. And I got my nice little pipe going. They made us this wonderful cafecito. Mm-hmm. And now I have Gretchen, who is going to be our expert during this series because, I know what I know, but Gretchen being in the swamp.
I love the swamp. And I would say expert is a broad term.
Well, share a little bit about your experience. You guys probably seen Gretchen around with me a lot, and we've done a lot of work, but just share with them, your background.
So I've been in D.C. now over 20 years. I came here right out of school. I was a journalism major at Penn State and then came to Washington and worked for NBC News. And doing some of the political stuff, I worked on various presidential campaigns, but then also worked for Fox News for a number of years. And the bulk of my career was as a field producer, so always behind the scenes. And I was general assignment, so I would go cover, disasters and shootings and all sorts of crazy stuff. But when you're based in Washington, 99% of your life is politics. And so it's always covering stuff on the Hill and whoever comes to town and what the president's doing and the various agencies. So that definitely gives you a good primer in how things run. And I was a journalist for roughly 12 years or so. And then after that, I needed to slow down. I was so tired of news. And I love news. I can't get enough of it. Truly. It's kind of sad how much news I still watch. But working for a 24-hour cable news station, that's like your whole life. You get up in the morning for a morning shot. You're starting at 4 a.m. and you might be going till 2 a.m. when you're doing West Coast stuff. So it's a grind working in TV news. So I went to the Hill. I went into politics to slow down. Which most people do not go to Capitol Hill to slow down. And whenever I told people that, they would just be like, are you serious? I'm like, bless your hearts, you think this is tricky. Because in my mind, Capitol Hill is pretty 9 to 5. And through my years working in the news, I got to know one congressman very well, Representative Bill Schuster. He's no longer in the House. He retired, I don't remember, I think 2018, I think he retired, but he was a Republican congressman from central Pennsylvania, and his main district contained Shanksville, where the fourth plane went down during 9/11, and that's how I got to know him, being in national news, covering him back and forth, and I did a brief stint in local news as a reporter, saw him again there, and just, build a rapport with him, and so finally, after a while, he was just like, hey, do you want to come work for me? And he said, I don't know if we can afford you. You're in TV. And little did he know that he was like doubling my salary when I went to the Hill. That's how bad TV pays. So I was happy to go to Capitol Hill and see how the sausage is made. But 2 years of that and slamming your head against the wall. And when I was on the Hill was like the height of the Tea Party. And like Ted Cruz was first coming on the scene and being a pain in the ass. And Boehner was Speaker of the House when I was there. Love Boehner. But just slamming my head against the wall every day, trying to get anything done. And Schuster, he was chairman of transportation, which is not a bad gig. People like bridges. They want their roads fixed. So people don't hate you nearly as much as in other offices. So it was fun working for him. But I decided I preferred the campaign side a lot more than the actual day-to-day of Capitol Hill. Went off into the private sector, as everyone does in Washington, and, started to do various things in communications. And I was doing ticket scalping legislation and genetically modified organism labeling standards. And bored out of my mind. I was like...
Like compliance package and labeling?
So being a comms person, I would do the PR side of it. So I was helping associations and different corporations understand how to message these things. Okay. So everything in Washington, regardless if you're a lobbyist or not, revolves around policy. So when the ticket scalping legislation would come up, it's like, all right, this is how, you get interviewed for testimony, and this is how you prepare for that kind of thing. Here's press. We want to get around it. Let's write op-eds. I got to write a fun op-ed for Kid Rock. And I was like, am I allowed to swear in this op-ed? And they're like, no. And I'm like, all right. And then I have to try and make it sound like him. And he liked it. I think I said, like, something was trash. And he was like, all right, that's good. I'm like, all right, sweet. But so I did that for a while, but I was totally bored. And then I had some friends come along who were starting a cannabis data company. And they said they needed help on the communications and government affairs side of things. And I told them I knew nothing about cannabis. And they said, doesn't matter. No one else does either. Which was true back in 2014, especially in D.C. No one knew anything.
I feel like even now.
Yeah, not much has changed. But I frankly love that they had the forethought to think about, all right, we need to know how to message this and try and get the point across to people. So it's like, all right. And I wanted a break, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur and be in a startup environment and, you know, set my hair on fire every day. And so I got into cannabis, and it was just a whole other world. It was nothing I was prepared for, frankly. I mean, for me, work-life balance was like, all right, I'm going to stop at 11 o'clock at night, and that's good. And it was just crazy. But so that's how I got into the cannabis space and was always trying to, the one thing I loved about us, we were New Frontier Data, for people who might be familiar, is that we did not take a position. We would tell the good, the bad, the ugly. And especially as a person who does not consume, has zero background at all in cannabis, and coming from the right side of the aisle, when I got into this space, people were like, I can't talk to you anymore. I can't associate with you, especially in D.C. People are nutballs.
What?
Oh, yeah. They're like, this is going to end your career. What are you doing? Are you out of your mind?
Serious?
Yeah. Hello. I mean, look at Republicans. Yes. It was definitely a thing.
Okay. I mean, I guess, you know, post-Trump, maybe.
I mean, but you got to remember 10 years ago, it was just not a thing at all. I mean, even back then, Hill staffs didn't have a cannabis LA, someone that you go in and talk to about these sort of things.
I mean, I come from the military, you know, so like I've been with Democrats and Republicans. We serve alongside each other. We have to have each other sick. So I guess I didn't realize that the dissent was so deep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, reefer madness, rampant. It's still rampant in Washington, frankly. And there's, back then, I call it the cannabis closet. There were very few lawmakers who were out of the cannabis closet and willing to at least engage on the issue.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I was willing to like go into this and I'm like, I'm going to tell people what's going on. And I would go into Hill offices and they're like, why are you here? I'm like, I would like to speak to your cannabis person. And they're like, we don't have one. I'm like, do you have someone on healthcare? Do you have somebody, criminal justice, whoever? And then they'd be like, why are you here? And I'm like, I just want to inform you of this industry exists.
Right.
We are a data company. We want to be a resource. We want to answer your questions. What don't you understand?
Right.
And they're just like, I don't get this whatsoever. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm not here lobbying for anything. I just want to help.
Right.
And they're like, whoa, this is not. And Schuster, love him to death, but he even said to me, this is a fad. Forget this cannabis thing. And I was like, I got this. I'm all right, sir. When I told my mom I was going into cannabis, she was like, Mary Jane? And I was like, yes, Mom. She's like, are there benefits? I was like, yes, it's a real job. This is a thing.
It's a real job.
So, yeah. So coming into Washington and saying, I'm here to talk about cannabis blew people's minds.
Yeah.
And the fact that I would put it on my resume and talk about it. And friends who I lost back then have come back around and they have, okay, you're not, pushing the devil weed. You didn't become a drug dealer. This is all right. Yeah. They're good with it.
All that. And like, you not only do you not touch the plant, but you don't even smoke or consume the plant in any fashion.
Not at all. And people are like, some of my favorite reactions would be like telling my church back home in Pittsburgh what I do. And they're like, whoa. And then they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, marijuana. And they're like, you talk about it? This is something you advocate for? And it's like, that's one thing that this industry, even to this day, fails to understand. The East Coast is not nearly as entrenched as like California was, or the West Coast when they came about with legalization.
Right.
And so trying to get just regular Joe Schmo consumer to understand, this can be used as medicine. Right. This can be helpful to you. It just blew people's minds.
Yeah.
And they still don't get it. And if you're not a regular consumer, they don't know the difference between THC, CBD. Right. They don't know various strains, what all these names mean. They got nothing.
Yep.
And this industry, in my mind, has not done much to help educate the general public on the benefits of the plant, which is, I think, what's also greatly hurt us politically and not helped us to move forward at all.
Right.
But
yeah,
we're trying. So that's what I do. I try to help people understand, and it's either through the media, writing for other folks and helping them understand things, or I talk directly to lawmakers and I'm like, all right, what do you not grasp? Right. And it's always interesting conversations with folks, even the ones who are advocates, who are for us. Their level of understanding, they're like mind blown when you tell them, I can't get a bank account. I don't even all I do is talk about weed. I don't touch it, don't do anything. I've been debanked 4 times. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's a thing.
So I think, going back to your background, so we have news, and then we have getting into politics, and then you have transitioning fully into weed.
Yeah.
And now it's been over 10 years.
10 years.
You're still here.
I'm still here. I don't know why.
You're still fighting for a plant you don't consume.
Correct.
Why?
I mean, so my real turning point, and I don't want us to get, sad and weepy, but I had a friend who, she had uterine cancer. And this was about 2 years into my time in weed. And this is also at a time when Virginia still didn't have it, Maryland didn't have it. We just did not have access to legal cannabis. And so she was at a point where it was like, we're throwing anything at the wall. And so I actually have friends in cannabis who I could talk to, are very good people. Mara Gordon, love her to death. Amazing scientist, great at this sort of thing. I reached out to Mara and I'm like, hey, can you help me get the right type of cannabis she needs? Can you figure out what type of a dosing we should do? Where do we even begin?
Right.
And Mara did help me, but Mara's, of course, out in California. And so trying to get to somebody who could give me exactly what I needed was insane. She set me up with a guy, and I don't know if he liked smoke and mirrors, but I literally had to meet this dude, like in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, in Maryland, like around midnight. And I'm just like,
why?
I don't know. Because we're trafficking in this horrific illegal substance. And he was giving me oil. And I'm just like, this is literally the beginning of a movie where you're about to get killed.
Right.
Dateline, I hope they have a good picture of me, because this is the end of me. But I'm like, my friend needs this. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help save her life. Yeah. And if not even save her life, but just better quality of life. Right. And she ultimately, in less than a year, she passed. And to me, it was so insane.
Did it give her relief? What was her experience like with you just making that connection? She
was an older lady.
Okay.
But sadly, she was also scared to take it because she has heard of so many stories and she probably hadn't done cannabis in so many years.
Right.
And she's like, I'm like, I am so positive that this is going to help me, make you feel better. She was so high on so many drugs and opioids that they pumped into her body. She was begging to die. And I was like, I'm so positive this will help you. I'll take it with you. I don't consume it all. And I'm like, if you want me to sit there, hold your hand, and we're going to do this together, let's do this. And I think it helped her slightly in the end, but it was truly, too little, too late at that point. And she was also, we were looking at doing various things with her at Johns Hopkins, and the trials at Hopkins are like, if she takes cannabis, she can't be in these trials to get this experimental medicine. It was just like all this stuff if we did this. And so she only did it a few times, but in my mind after that, it was, and I have connections in the cannabis space. If I have to go to these lengths to try and get my friend medicine, what does a regular person have to go through?
Yep.
Where would they even begin?
Yep.
And so that's really what turned me to the advocacy side. I'm like, I'm going to fight for patients. There's no reason at all. If you think smoking elephant shit is going to make you better, you should have that opportunity. The government should not be standing in that way.
Yeah.
And so that's how I turned into the advocacy side.
I had a customer who came in the other day, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love that I'm in here. Like, where would I be?" And I was like, "A Home Depot parking lot at 9 p.m. waiting."
Yes.
For the plug. It's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a patient, not knowing at all what might help you.
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to get a baggie from some guy on the street corner and hope it's the right thing.
Yep. Yeah, so. It's really sad, but I think, one great thing I love about our relationship is, when we started working together, that was something that we really came to the forefront with, was leading from a PR aspect, but with politics and engagement and activation in mind. I feel like it served, me well and the brand well, and our approach when you look at a state flipping and what people do for their rollout to build their brand, whether it's their personal brand, their business brand, all the things. And it really illuminated my eyes to advocacy. I think maybe in the beginning, you remember I used to always be like, don't call me an advocate, because I feel like you get that stamp.
Sure.
And I really wanted to always be like, listen, I'm a entrepreneur and I'm a professor, I'm an educator, and I'm just using these vehicles of what I do and my voice to take those skill sets and illuminate it for people, right? But the reality is that it is advocacy in a sense. It goes out to the masses, but there is something really, really special that is that's the thing that gets things done. And I think enough of us don't really, even for me.
Sure.
Can you explain why you feel like that's the piece that so much of us are missing in cannabis?
When I look at what really helped us get legalization passed in the beginning, it was patients, it was moms with kids, it was things that politicians could relate to. Right. Politicians do not relate to, I just want to get high. They don't relate to stoners. If these guys were stoners, they were stoners 50 years ago, and they have completely forgotten about that. Yep. It's just not something they understand. But everyone understands a sick grandchild. They understand, a veteran who's looking for some relief. I think where we have gone completely wrong in cannabis has been trying to push for full legalization on the federal level. Right. I don't know why we never started with a national medical bill, because every other state has done it. That's the pathway you go. Right. And I think it helps people to see that the sky's not falling. You can regulate it. Right. But we're just like, nope, full blown, that's what we want federally. Yeah. And I don't think that works at all. I think if lawmakers can see how it can benefit patients, how it can help, then it would have so much more power. And personal stories matter. Right. I mean, you've been to the Hill with me. You've walked around. And sure, I talk to them all the time about, it's very expensive, 280E sucks, yada, yada, yada. But when I have an actual business owner standing in front of them saying, I spent $70,000 on a safe that no other business would ever have to buy, that finally starts to paint a picture for them. And they finally start to get it. Yeah. They can see those tangible things. Yeah. When I talk to... recently, I've been pushing on McCormick and Moreno, two new Republicans on the Senate Banking Committee, to care about safe banking. Why? Because they're businessmen, so they understand stuff. And it's like my partner, Don Murphy, I'm like, can't get a mortgage. This is the first time in his life Don cannot get a mortgage. And that's because we have vocally been out there on cannabis in the past few years, a lot. And the fact that he just mentions it. And Don has been a state lawmaker. He's done all sorts of shit. He's been in cannabis over 20 years, but he never had cannabis next to his name until I told him to put it there. My bad, Don. And he can't get a mortgage now. And so for those Republicans to be like, what? Yeah. This nice guy who comes in, who's been talking to us, comes every week, you can't get a mortgage? Yep. And it's like, why not? And they're like, then they can see there's something wrong with these laws. Right. That they understand. 280, they're like, whatever, I'm busy. Right. But like when you can help them really see a tangible story, then I think they can get a lot more on board. And like, this is something I can fix and help with.
In the military, a lot of our warfare that was more progressive was winning hearts and minds, right? Like firing off weapons is not always the solution. Sometimes being able to connect with the community, talk to them, is really what brought people together. And I think what you're saying about like sharing the stories, and for me, I started as a patient first, right? And I agree with you. I think what it does is the rollout allows for people to digest it better, right? Their mind psychologically, they feel like they can sort of be more okay with knowing that it's for medicinal purposes than recreation, right? And there's also this whole conversation about medicinal and recreational, like if the plant is different when you go to the dispensary, right? Like in owning a dispensary, a lot of times, they flip from one side to it. Like it's not a different plant. It's just how the government's regulation has it separated. But for other people, when they just hear that it's for medical reasons, they can just rationalize it better. Yeah. Right? And the reality is that it doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. It's the masses, and we need to meet people where they're at. Right. And I think that's the most critical component, is that we have our own bias and our own driver for our passion in this industry, whether it's social justice, advocacy, from a financial and business lens, and that's all we care about, whatever it is. And I think that's what starts to fray us, is that we can't find the connectivity. Right. And you and I talk often about, Republicans, Democrats, all of that division. And that's really why, I wanted us to do this podcast, so that people can see how the divisiveness is not supporting. Yeah. And there was all these efforts before the election, right, during the lame duck session. There was all these things that people were trying to do to get cannabis through. And it's like, there was not a unified voice. No. And the reason why ATF, liquor, guns, all of them, right? They go there collectively. They have lobbyists, they have teams, and we don't do that in cannabis. You can't be down at the Hill fighting the good fight by yourself. Or lobby days once a year, right?
Shocked. We do.
Like it's not
we
enough.
are by ourselves quite often.
It's not enough. It's not persuasive enough.
No,
right?
not at all. And the old adage is change doesn't happen in Washington. Change has to come to Washington. Because these guys do not, I love them to death, love the swamp, but they do not have an original thought in their head. It has to come from the public demanding, this is what we want. Right. Cannabis is a hard bell to unring. You got the war on drugs, you got Nancy Reagan, these guys all love, just say no. I'll have lawmakers tell me, I can't get behind this just because I told my kid once, just say no. I can't flip-flop. And I'm like, dude, your kid's 40. Can we get beyond that? You're killing me. It's time to evolve and understand things. And then I run into other lawmakers. I have one lawmaker not too long ago yell at me. And he was like, y'all are a bunch of liars. And he was like, liars. And I'm like, all right.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. He was hyped. And I was just, and even his chief of staff was like, whoa, what's going on over here? And he was referring to the hemp space. And because they don't understand the science, they don't understand how things could work, didn't even fathom there could be a gray area. Right. They were all just waiting for the rope and, the big textile industry that was going to roll out from hemp. Right. And then this cannabinoid market showed up, and they're just like, whoa, that's not what we intended. And I'm like, I get that's not what you intended, but now it's time to be lawmakers and make some laws. How about we regulate it, guys? And they're like, no. We're just going to ban it again. Clearly, you've shown you guys can't be trusted. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's the current stance of what we're dealing with in Washington. So it's just, it's lunacy. And people, I will object to, you said that, folks don't come. People do show up once a while. But like, if you look at other industries, yes, pharma, alcohol, all those big guys, they're on the same page. But doesn't mean that they still can't come out and advocate for a specific drug, or I want this provision. They do all that stuff too. But there is a unified voice. And I think, and people hate me for this, I don't care. I'm used to being hated. I used to work at Fox News. I'm good with being on the dark side. Hate that I think cannabis and hemp should go hand in hand to the Capitol. They're just like, no. And I'm not even getting into the whole synthetic side. I do not want to go there. Trust me. It's going to upset people. But we need to look at it as this is one plant, one set of rules. Regulate it the same way. Everybody gets tested. We want safe products. You're going to talk to many reputable businesses in the hemp space. They want the exact same thing. Right. I mean, everyone's like, oh, well, there's the gas station weed, the crap, blah, 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 the bad actors.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
Let's try and regulate this and make this a good thing. And lawmakers do not know the difference between cannabis and hemp. They just don't. Sure, there might be a level in the farm bill, but they're just like, no, it's all bad. You all lied. It's all awful. And so until we can come to the table and say, this is how it should be regulated, this is how it should work, because the FDA doesn't want to touch it ever, even though they've been told by Congress, at least start working on CBD. And they're like, oh, I don't know about that. Nope, can't do that. Not our lane. We're like, whose lane is it? And they're like, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, that's what... I mean, you cannot make up the idiocy of Washington. I love it. It keeps me going every day. And, like, my mind is blown. And it's if I did not have that, I don't know what I would do. I'd be so bored. But, like, especially my boy Trump. He is... And I'm like, all right. Like, people... This is my favorite thing about being in cannabis nowadays, is people say to me, all right, this is happening. What's coming next? I have no clue. Nothing.
Think anybody knows.
Constitution out the window. I'm like, if this were the real world, this would be the next step. This would happen. This would happen.
Right.
But
right,
we're living in fantasy land right now in DC.
I think also Republicans are in a bad spot right now because of all of that, right? Because when we talk about the divisiveness and trying to reignite that unity, it's like a third party, well, I guess if you take independent out, has been created, right? It's like, are you a Republican or are you a Trumpster? And that is so crazy that we have created a whole nother way to delineate how we feel about people, right? And I think it's kind of unfair to have to be like, okay, you're a Republican. Like, now I have to figure out what kind of Republican you are. I
preface every conversation with, like, when I start with, I'm a Republican, I didn't vote for Trump. And then people are like, oh, okay, now they're willing to engage with me.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I have a brother, love him to death, MAGA all the way. Trump. And I'm just like... Dude.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do?
I what are the Republicans going to do?
We're screwed. Well, if it were up to me, but no one listens to me, they would grow a backbone. I think a lot of the early bending the knee to Trump came with the threat of Elon.
Right.
Because Elon was just going to primary them and they're going to throw up all this money against him. And so they were all like, well, that is politicians' biggest fear, is not getting reelected. That's what we need to be pushing on. But this industry is not smart enough to do that. So anyway, so they're all afraid of Elon. And so now that Elon has stepped aside, I'm hopeful that the Republicans will start to hear their voice a little more with the big, beautiful bill that's coming. I hope that John Thune in the Senate.
Why you got to call it that?
That's what it's called. It's a big, beautiful bill.
We got to stop. We got to stop doing that. We got to stop doing
What do you want to call it?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just amazing. So the Senate has said they're going to completely rewrite this thing. They don't like what the House has sent over. Okay. Even some House members, good old Marjorie Taylor Greene, just admitted she didn't know some of the stuff that was in it. It's like, oh, shocker, you didn't read it? Thanks, Marjorie. Good job. So I'm hopeful there will be pushback. If there is pushback, I think we're going to be fighting over this bill for quite a while. I don't think anything else will get done in this country until they deal with this, but we'll see. That is my hope.
Big, beautiful bill.
Love the big, beautiful bill.
It's just so fucking elementary. Like,
everything we're doing nowadays is elementary.
This bill, it's big, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's a big, beautiful bill.
It's gonna
That's the name.
Let's do it. Big, beautiful bill. Everyone loves alliteration. It works.
Sometimes I feel like that's why there are some people in this nation that love them too. Like, just the simplicity of things.
Sure.
People are sort of over the complication of things, right? Like, oh, why are you coming to the forefront with all that language? Like, just make it simple.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, this bill,
no
big,
problem.
Beautiful, that's it. And people are like, yeah, that's it.
He's the marketer in chief. He's not president in chief. He's marketer in chief, and that's what they love.
Oh man, I think one of my greatest challenges is, you know, I know you have your sentiment about the hemp, the cannabis. My argument is that consumers are confused.
Sure.
Right? They don't understand. And if we're looking at lawmakers not understanding, that's fine. That's like a very small population when we talk about the population at large, right? And those people, not only do they not know what hemp cannabis is, they don't know what THC is, THCA. They don't even realize that is just a compound change from the, being ignited by being decarbed.
Sure.
They call it, right? And then you have all the cannabinoids. Like, it's just too much.
Right.
And I want consistency, like when we talk about Texas, and then PA, and then all of what the East looks like, and then Canada has some changes. Like, there has to be some consistency,
right? So
that the consumer can receive something. It's like we're always changing.
Yeah, I mean that's what you're going to get with these state by state bottles,
right? Which
does not help whatsoever. And the other huge issue in cannabis is the lack of money.
Right.
So there's no money to educate, to spend the time, to help people understand what's going on.
It's also, it's like the ego is killing this place too. But it's not just the ego in cannabis, it's ego in government. Everybody who has the opportunity to have a state model wants to come to the forefront with their messaging, like, well, we are the leading, right? We're the leading model that others want to follow and blah, blah, blah. And that's been like a big charter in Jersey. Like everybody has been toting how great we've done it here. And then you talk to some operators and it's like, well,
you're an operator. What do you think?
There's some conversation that we need. Well, listen, I think when we talk about the rollout, no, not it. Not it. I think what is positive in this state is that our government listens to an extent.
Okay.
Right? And I think the advocacy part that you were referring to, that makes waves here. Right? In Jersey, if the people care, they will listen. But I think in other places, like Texas, people have shown that they care and they still don't listen. And I think that's also what makes people not understand or want to pursue or pay for advocacy, because there was this, I think she is a representative of San Antonio.
Okay.
And she spoke during that time at the bill and at the hearing and had said, veterans come to me. Like, I'm in San Antonio, I'm in Military City. Like, they need this. And this is what we're doing. Like, we're going to hand this industry over to the illicit market, to the cartels, to whomever is, like, going to benefit from this decision. Yeah. And people feel like Texas is so big. How do you, and this is what I mean about the inconsistency. Right. Like, in Jersey, maybe we matter, but in some places, people feel like they don't. What do you say to that?
Well, so I would start with these states that you talk about. New Jersey, Texas, Pennsylvania. All three of them extremely different.
Right.
New Jersey, very democratic. Very East Coast, union-oriented. Texas, as red as can be, except for maybe Austin. Very conservative. Currently has a $24 billion state surplus. They don't need the devil weed money. They got plenty of money. They're rolling in it.
That's crazy.
They don't care. Pennsylvania, very purple state. You got Pittsburgh and Philly and red in between. I mean, it's just, so when you say that New Jersey listens to you, well, that's because you got a very democratic crowd being like, this is what we want. These people are going to show up to vote. But you go to Texas, there are plenty of guys in their 10-gallon, cowboy hats standing out there saying, this is devil weed. This is garbage. This is going to kill you. You have, moms out there saying their child died because it was laced with fentanyl or some bullshit.
Right.
And here's another huge issue, which I have a problem with in Texas. Nobody's pushing back.
Right.
There's not good enough rapid response in this industry. For years, Project Sam is just running rampant, and they are, sending talking points left and right to lawmakers, and they're just buying it hook, line, and sinker. Look at Glenn Youngkin and the bullshit he's pulling in Virginia. And I'm like, I swear it's like Project Sam's in the back of his office. Like, this is how we're writing the speech. And he's like, okay, all right. Because there's nobody to push back in real time or to explain to them this product that you're waving around, Dan Patrick, that's going to kill people is legal under your teacup program. So it's bad when it's coming from the hemp industry, but it's fine. It won't hurt you at all if you buy it in our sad 3 dispensaries. 3 dispensaries in Texas. And then they talk about, this rapid expansion of the medical program. That's what we're going to do.
How many?
9. And I'm unclear, and I'm pretty good at reading policy. I'm unclear if it's 9 more or 9 total that they're getting. Either way.
How big is Texas?
Dude.
How long did you say it takes to drive through?
I drove through it this past summer. Holy shit. It took me a day. Over a day.
One day, just for Texas.
A day, going through Texas.
Yeah, that's not convenient at all.
People are going to have to get on planes if they want to actually go buy the weed. I mean, everyone complains about having to drive a few hours to the dispensary. People in Texas are going to have to get on a plane if they want to go and get some weed. It's insane.
And you got one state that you basically got to get on a plane and get your weed.
Yeah.
And then in Jersey, you can just go on any corner, cross the street from each other.
I can get on a pogo stick and hit a dispensary. You could go on a whole dispensary crawl through this town and go maybe half a mile and hit 6 different dispensaries. I'm amazed.
My goodness.
It's awesome. There's plenty of parking at all these different dispensaries because there's nobody going to any of them. What is that one strip you took me down? What road is that?
Tennessee Ave.
Holy, I don't even know where to begin.
I know.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I don't know how those people stay in business. I don't know how a state sets up, and I don't know if it's the state's problem or this is what I'm going to have fun with this summer, is you explaining Jersey to me, because it's, I don't know if it's the city set it up wrong, the state set it up wrong, the county, whoever, but it's beyond wrong. Well,
it goes back to collaboration and talking, and, that didn't happen in the beginning, of course, so everyone's backtracking. And it's just so hard to undo in cannabis because it's also such a contentious space.
Yeah.
It's like the most kumbaya contention I've ever seen in my life. So, people will sue. They're like, no, you said yes to this license. And now they have lawsuits. And now you got cities, we're talking about Texas has a surplus. You got some of these cities, like Jersey City is in a major deficit.
Right.
They don't have room for any error right now. So, I'm not sure, but I think this is going to be a fun summer.
Yeah.
Talking to different politicians. In our next episode, we actually are going to be speaking with one of our mayoral candidates.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we're going to be bringing a lot to you. Obviously, going to be talking to both sides. And I did actually want to pull from there because you said this is a highly democratic state.
Yeah.
This is why this is going in this direction. Mm-hmm. What happens if we flip? Do you feel like now they're not going to care?
You really think they're going to flip?
I'm just saying, if you're saying that this is the reason why they care or at least listen to an extent, does that then mean whomever comes in as a Republican is not going to listen?
I think a Republican may come with different ideas of how to legislate the program and may want to make some reforms or changes. But when you say that your state is operating in a deficit, I think they're also going to be looking to make cash however they can.
Right.
I know in Pennsylvania they've been pushing adult use forever. Why? The state needs the money.
Right.
They're running out of money.
Right.
The governor has made cannabis, and I don't know who's crunching his numbers, but a huge part of his budget. I think it's a little bit unbelievable what he thinks cannabis is going to make and bring in for the state.
Right.
But that's why a lot of states turn to it. And so I think if a state has to depend on the revenue from it, I think they will be, of course, more forgiving. Right. In a state like Texas, where they just don't need it, they don't care. No.
And that's really the argument, right? It's a economic driver. Yeah. And if you can make a financial case, I feel like that's really how you get, the Republicans on board, because how else are we going to make money? And I don't know if New Jersey as a whole is in a deficit. Jersey City definitely is. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, Jersey also loves to be at the forefront. So we have tax credits for film right now, right? We're trying to bring AI to the forefront. We want to be the front runners of everything. So it's just so strange to me that we're not trying to bolster weed more. I'm like, this is proven data. This is proven numbers. This is not, we project that AI might do ... We project that film will do. You guys know what weed does. Right. And you know what it does in a actually very tight environment. What happens if you actually make a positive, growing environment for this industry? We would to the moon.
And not to say that New Jersey is not at the forefront of cutting edge everything. But I think they're almost employing a throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks kind of methodology here. We'll see if you guys are going to be the new Hollywood or AI tech center.
Right. It is kind of like throwing shit out the wall. Like, which one can we do best? And the thing is, if you're going to make a gamble, I feel like we're doing the best at weed. Why would you not
really
lean
think you're doing
into
the best at weed?
I'm saying in terms of like, well, on the East Coast,
Maryland's doing all right.
they got some ways. They're a little bit behind.
Yeah,
They got some time to
It took
catch
them a little
up.
while to catch up, but at least they do have a governor that's on board. And
Yeah.
I think that is critical for any state. If your governor's not on board, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
For the longest time, Maryland did not have a governor backing the industry.
Right.
New Jersey, you have your gubernatorial race, so I think that's important. If you want to see this industry grow, you're going to need somebody who cares about it and wants to see it flourish.
Yep.
If they're okay with status quo, then nothing's going to happen. They may not set it back, but they're not going to work to project it forward, which we really need, especially when you're dealing with 280E and various federal issues. You need a governor who's really going to back you to try and find solutions at the state to help counteract those federal problems.
Right.
So
What would you say to operators or people that have that sort of level of involvement in this space? What would you say to them, specifically in Jersey?
like, I appreciate when operators try and educate their consumer who's coming in, and they might start a campaign or saying, oh, here, take a look at this. But honestly, what I would love is for them to push more in the community. Like, cannabis needs to be involved in the outside world. It cannot just be inside the walls of their dispensary.
Yeah.
They need to be a part of the state fair.
Yeah.
You know, they need to show up, and even if it has nothing to do with cannabis, if it's sponsoring various things and doing, I know you guys have done in the past, like food drives, or you did backpacks,
tons of stuff. Yep.
For people to see, oh wait, these people are part of our community.
Yeah.
This is someone, and then that's when you get to have those outside conversations with people who are never going to walk through the doors of your dispensary.
Yep.
When you're out there and really involved, I think that's important. And I think it's important also to talk to your lawmakers, your politician, your mayor. They can advocate for us in a way that perhaps we cannot. I think one thing that makes me a strong advocate specifically is that I don't consume. And so I'm like, all right, I'm not in this just to get high.
Right.
But, and not to say that you are, but when you show up to town and talk about your business or talk about, your needs as a patient, that gives them wiggle room to be like, she just cares about making money, or she just cares about being high or something. Right. But when you have a lawmaker or a mayor showing up and saying, this is going to change how my state does business, or we can do more, I think that helps put a bigger voice on to things.
Right.
And not to say that we shouldn't be. We need to be out there.
Right.
We need an all of the above approach when it comes to advocacy. It can't just be lobbying. It can't just be, crazy people showing up and doing a smoke out. That never works. That is, dude. If you're ever going to protest, this is my plea to the industry. If you're going to show up and protest, save your consumption for later. I have been to so many events where everyone is kumbaya and chilling on the grass after 20 minutes. And I'm like,
where's the fight?
I need some fire. I need y'all to be a little more engaged. And everyone's like, hey, and like in a peace circle. And I'm just like, oh my God, kill me now.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will say, and I'll say it right to you guys, I definitely want to be high because I'm a veteran that absolutely needs this. And I do want to make money the same way that the state wants to make money.
Yeah.
When I make money, you make money. So I don't understand also why that's even bad narratives, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, if you're not in this I love the plant, but this is a very, very difficult business.
Right.
That has constraints that no other business has had. And I feel like I hold the position right now, and it's been really frustrating for me, but, a lot of people know me from the wellness space and, know about my brand Sweat and things like that. And now they'll invite me to places. Hey, we have this LGBTQ event we'd love for you to show up at. We have this veteran event. We want to give you a table. A lot of times they just want me in the space, and they'll be like, we'd love for you to come represent Sweat. And then all of a sudden, as if there's a million people around or something happened, they'll be like, and you could also bring the other one too. What is it called? what the other side? I'm like, nothing changed. Why did your tone change, right? And I've gotten to the place where I'm just like, sadly, I'm not going. Like, I'm not bringing either of them, because why are you treating them differently? They're both wellness businesses. They're both something that help me, other veterans, other people, other community members. And I don't understand, it's very frustrating for me. So for now, I just feel like if you're not taking all of me, I'm not going. And I know it's very principled, but it has to be normal. Like, you can't, when they're like, oh, we want to go to events, farmers markets, stuff like that, and then everyone is fearful because if they're registered, as nonprofits, they're getting federal funding. Everyone just feels like if I put any association with this plant, there's going to be some backlash on me. And I just feel like the only way we break through to that is people being resistant and saying, listen, this is just another business in the community.
I hear you. I get what you're saying. However, I think there are times when this industry, specifically coming to politics, is too sensitive, where they're just like, oh, but he said this, he doesn't like that, I can't have all of this, I'm not coming anymore.
Right.
The hell with it.
Right.
Well, trust me, no one else is showing up on your behalf.
Right.
So when people step away, that's it.
Yeah.
We have no hope.
Right.
So put your big panties on, suck it up, buttercup. This guy is not going to like 90% of what you say.
Right.
But perhaps this one part gets through. And I know everyone hates piecemeal legislation, but come back to the big, beautiful bill. Yay. What they're going to be able to defeat this on is so many Republicans are going to be like, I don't like this piece, or I don't like that piece.
Right.
That's why I hate a huge bill.
Yeah.
I like them precise.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what this is going to do. This is what safe banking can do. This is what, States Act, Prepares Act can do. You want a nice, easy peasy bill. So yes or no? Are you for us or are you against us?
Right.
Nope. All right. Well, then this is who I have to convince and work on.
Yep.
But when it's massive, everyone has something to hide behind.
Right.
And like you said, you don't see what's wrong with your narrative of being a patient, being a veteran, being an entrepreneur. I get that. But dude, these guys in Washington will hide behind the thinnest blade of grass if they think it's going to save their asses. I mean, I mentioned the one guy who yelled at me. Trust me, nobody likes me. The industry doesn't like me. Lawmakers don't like me. Nobody wants to fight for policy. It's just not a thing. Right. People hate it. Right. But it has to be done. We have to show up if we want to see the change. Yeah. Regardless of whatever they think of us. Yeah. Trust me, they think I'm insane.
Yeah. Well.
And we're like, here comes the cannabis lady again.
I go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. So I feel like I've already done my service to this nation, and now I am here doing this. So
we appreciate, thank you for your service.
All my things that are my give back. So when they ask me if I want to bring the other side, no, I fucking don't.
Well, I go where I'm tolerated, and I go where I'm not welcome, because I will do anything and everything to get this passed. I don't give what's the worst you're going to do to me? Yeah. Debank me a fifth time, knock yourselves out. I mean, I got it.
Oh man, let's not go into the banking struggles. Listen, I cannot wait for us to have our sit downs. Yes. So we have a little bit of a lineup, but we have some space. So if there are any, politicians who are, it doesn't even have to be New Jersey. We can talk about some other things that are happening, So if you want to come up and chat with Gretchen and I, we'd love to be able to bring your thoughts to the community.
And I'm looking forward to getting you down into DC for some talks.
Yeah, listen, I'll go down there and fight. That one I'll fight the good fight for you. Because, listen, what do you, like you said, what are you going to do to me?
What are you going to do? I don't care. Bring it. I mean, Trump will deport me, I don't know, back to wherever. I'll be like, I'm from Pittsburgh. And I'll be like, doesn't matter. You're going to Sudan now or something. Yeah, fine.
I'm going to Puerto Rico with the toilet paper, paper towels.
The paper towels, yeah.
All right, well.
That's such a mess.
Until next time, please make sure that you tune in. Every other Monday at 11 a.m., we will have a new episode with whomever we are sitting with in the political sphere. And make sure that you check out Lumin Community Cafe. They allowed us their space tonight. They are in Union, right on the border of Maplewood. So please come and support. It is women owned. It's a beautiful collective of women that have brought this place together. And that's what we want to do in Jersey and beyond, is just be able to highlight other small businesses related to, obviously, coffee. And we will keep bringing the fire about cannabis all summer long. Me and my co-host, Gretchen Gailey. See you next time.